Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on WHA Network, Monday, September 25th. And we've got a packed house here today. We've got Athlete of the Week winners and nominees coming up, brought to you by Ortho. We'll have a look back on the entire weekend of FCIAC football, including highlights and breakdown of our games of the week. John Kovacs will join us later on. For now, though, in studio, I'm Frank Granito, and I'm standing alongside my partner, Kevin Coleman. Kevin, 3 weeks of FCIAC sports down now, and I think we've really figured out who are the teams that are making moves in 2017's fall season.
It really is. You're starting to see, especially in football too, Frank, I think you're starting to really realize who the real teams are. I think after this weekend, a nice bounce-back win at home for New Canaan Friday night, that really gets them going. I think that offense is really starting to roll. And, of course, Darien, again, a very impressive win against a very talented St. Joe's team Saturday afternoon. A lot of good things going around the FCIAC. I mean, you also have to look at some of these sports as well. You look at girls soccer, boys soccer, even volleyball, still wide open conferences, even field hockey as well. Still a lot of good teams. Still a lot to be played. It's going to be a lot of fun as we approach October. Once we get closer and closer to playoff time, it's going to be some fun games.
Yep, final week of the September schedule, and October looks like it's going to be a very exciting month, very tightly contested month. I don't really think there's a sport outside of football where one program has truly separated themselves from the rest of the conference in the standings. We'll have plenty more on this past weekend of football, but for the time being, let's take a look at our Athlete of the Week. We have our Athlete of the Week winners for the first week of the fall season, brought to you by Ortho, Connecticut. And we want to offer congratulations to Carson Alstead of the New Canaan girls volleyball team and Gavin Muir of the Greenwich football team. Let's start with Alstead, who had 2 big matches for the New Canaan Rams as they opened the 2017 season with a pair of shutouts. Alstead, a senior co-captain, had 15 kills, 9 digs, and 4 aces when the Rams topped Notre Dame of Fairfield in straight sets to open the year. She then added 21 kills and 9 digs as the Rams defeated the Norwalk Bears 3-0 in their second match of the year. For the Greenwich Cardinals, Gavin Muir combined to throw 9 touchdowns in Greenwich's opening 2 games. They took down Trumbull 70-16 and Trinity Catholic 49-7. Muir threw for 365 yards and 5 touchdowns versus Trumbull, and 149 yards and 4 scores in the Cardinals' win over the Crusaders. Those are our Week 1 winners. Congratulations again to Carson and Gavin. Let's start off the Week 2 nominees, and we'll have our female nominees first. We go over to Kevin for the first one.
All right, starting things off with the FCIAC female nominees of the week. We have Sydney Schrenker of the Darien field hockey team. Sydney and the Blue Wave had a huge week, outscoring their 2 opponents by a total of 18-0. Sydney picked up a hat trick in both victories, scoring 3 goals in the Blue Waves' 9-0 rout of Trumbull, and then added 3 more in the Waves' 9-0 victory over Danbury.
For the male nominees, let's start with Mitchell Pryor of the Darien football squad. The senior captain ran wild against St. Joe's in this weekend's top 3 matchup. Pryor eclipsed the 100-yard mark in the contest, and he added 3 touchdown runs, leading the Blue Wave past the Cadets 42-10. Darien improves to 3-0 on the season and stretched their win streak to 28 games.
And over with Greenwich field hockey, we have Paige Finneran. The junior Finneran scored 2 goals to help lift the Cardinals over Fairfield Ludlow 4-2 and continue their undefeated start of the season. Greenwich sits in first place in the FCIAC with a record of 5-0 heading into this week.
For the boys now, Ridgefield boys soccer player JT Ciano had 2 goals in the Tigers' 3-0 shutout of Fairfield Ludlow on Tuesday. He then scored the game's only goal in a 1-0 victory over Greenwich on Friday. Ciano's goal versus Greenwich came in the 13th minute, and the Tigers held off the Cards the rest of the way. Ridgefield now 4-0 since Ciano returned from injury.
And my boy JT. But now we go over to Brian McMahon girls soccer, who we'll see tomorrow night. Chloe Ortolano. Ortolano struck for a hat trick in pacing for the Senators' 6-0 win over Stamford. McMahon has won 3 of their past 4 games, and the junior Ortolano has played a huge role in the Senators' offensive production this season.
New Canaan football's Garrett Braden registered 5 tackles and 3 sacks, leading a great defensive effort as the Rams defeated Trumbull 61-14 Friday night. Braden continued the great start to his junior campaign, bringing his season sack total up to 7 He also helped out on offense. He rushed for a touchdown on his first career carry. Congrats on that touchdown, Garrett.
Yeah, stick with New Canaan. We're going over to cross country now. We have Elena Tiller. Tiller won Tuesday's cross-country race in New Canaan's Waveney Park as the Rams swept 3 opponents, including rival Darien, Staples, and Norwalk, to move to 5-1 this season. Tiller, a junior, finished first in the 4K race with a time of 16:28, edging Staples' Tori Greenberg by a little less than a second.
Terry Forrester of the Stanford Black Knights football squad is another nominee. The junior Forrester keyed the Black Knights' victory, their first win of the season, throwing 3 touchdown passes and rushing for another in a 32-10 victory over city rival Trinity Catholic at Boyle on Saturday. Forrester's touchdown passes came from 49 yards, 27 yards, and 70 yards.
And the final FCIAC female nominee of the week from Trumbull girls volleyball is Bailey Santatiempo. Tiempo filled the stat sheet for the Eagles in their 3-2 victory over defending FCIAC champion on Tuesday. The freshman collected 14 kills, 11 digs, 13 service points, and a pair of aces.
And our final nominee this week, Joshua Smith of the Bridgeport Central boys soccer squad. Smith powered the Central offense in their 3-0 win over the Staples Wreckers. In a meeting between 2 of the FCIAC's better squads this year, Smith scored twice for the Hilltoppers as Central continued their hot start to the season, improving to 3-1-2 on the year. Those are your 10 Week 2 nominees for Athlete of the Week. Make sure you go to han.network to vote for your choice and your Week 2 winners. Kevin and I are going to step aside briefly here. When we get back on Nutmeg Sports, John Kovach will magically appear on set, and we're going to break down this past weekend's FCIAC football games right here on the HAN Network.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
At Portofino Restaurant and Wine Bar in Bethel, fresh and simple food is our concept. Owned and operated by brothers Rocco and Louie, Portofino has a distinct and diverse food and drink menu. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Come join us for live local music on Tuesdays and Sundays, Wednesday nights for mouthwatering prime rib, and every Thursday night is ladies' night. Planning a party? All our catering menus are personalized to suit your event and your budget. Join us at the Dolan Plaza, 213 Greenwood Ave, Bethel, and call us at 203-797-8131. Like us on Facebook. Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
At Art Play in Ridgefield, we encourage students at a young age to unleash their creativity. Art Play is about hands-on exploration of mixed media, acrylic, and collage for ages 4 to 12. Older kids welcome. Classes meet weekly at Jesse Lee Church, Main Street, Ridgefield. Find us on Facebook at Art Play at Jesse Lee. Whether you're looking for a great test prep program, tutoring to boost your grades, or a blast-off toward the college of your dreams, C2 Education is here to help. There is nothing one-size-fits-all about our programs. We offer customized tutoring and test prep for each student. Call us today at 203-423-3328.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learn...
Go to break snapping our fingers, and back with us now, John Kovach, to break down this past weekend's FCIAC football slate. And we're at an interesting point in the season now, John. A couple of teams are taking byes this week. A lot of games are being played. Well, no games are being played on Friday night because of the holiday. So really now I think we're at a turning point in crossroads here in the season where we're going to find out which teams are for real as we head towards the middle of the season and continue to get closer to the state tournament.
I think that started this week. I think we learned that Darien is Darien and New Canaan is New Canaan, and that other teams have a ways to go to catch up with them to a great extent.
Well, one team that is starting to trend up in the right direction after a tough opening weekend loss is the Ridgefield Tigers. Now, they took care of Central as they're expected to. It was a 46-8 victory, but Ridgefield now has the bye week. They will play on Friday, October 6th. They go to Staples. That's going to be a very interesting game where I think we really find out what kind of a Tigers team this is.
Yeah, Frank, you really find out what kind of offense this is, because after a tough Week 1 loss to Darien where they only put up 12 points, then they go out, route Stanford, route Central this past weekend. Then they had the bye week. They play Staples. This is a Staples defense that has looked pretty impressive so far. So you're right. That's an intriguing matchup just to see if they can really put pressure on Greg Gatto, because these last 2 weeks, he has looked more and more comfortable in that pocket.
Well, and can Staples be stopped by Ridgefield?
True. That's 2 good defenses. You're absolutely right.
It'll be very interesting seeing what kind of Staples team we've been dealing with is now. This will probably be considered their biggest test to date. I don't know how much of a believer everyone became of Wilton after their matchup with the Wreckers. On the other side, Central is going to get Fairfield Ward. That'll be a tough one again for Central. I think the Hilltoppers are doing the right things, but it's a very unique situation up in Bridgeport.
It's an uphill battle. It's always a struggle for them to retain players. There's some pretty good feeder programs, but then they're split over 3 public schools and private schools that are vying to get the top athletes out of Bridgeport. They're trying to do things the right way. I know those teams work hard. They do a lot in the off-season. I'd like to see Central win one before the year's out. I think there might be 1 or 2 coming up. I don't know this weekend.
I agree. Don't know if it is this weekend, but I can tell you at least 1 game on the calendar that is very, very winnable. West Hill at Danbury. This game closer for a lot longer than Coach Marcuccio and probably many experts expected, John. West Hill ends up winning 34-10, but they were down 10-3 right around halftime in this one. Do you think maybe the Vikings got caught looking ahead here towards New Canaan?
I don't know. That's entirely possible. And as you've said, when they were sitting in front of us in the press box at the Greenwich Trinity Catholic game, hey, you're going to come cover us against New Canaan. They're all very pumped to show New Canaan a rivalry has developed there. But I also think there was a little bit of a slip back. You look, they had 3 crucial turnovers in the red zone. That's a game that they could have been up 3 scores at the half, and instead they trailed.
As a team now that is off to a great start, 3-0, but averaging 3.75 turnovers per game right now, which when they play New Canaan this week on a short week, Thursday night at Boyle, if you turn the ball over that many times, you're not going to be able to keep up with the Rams. Danbury, on the other hand, it looked like they had some things going well, especially defensively in that first half. Now they go out of conference. They get Capital Prep, who's 2-1. Capital Prep's going to get a couple of FCIAC teams in a row here. Your thoughts on the Hatters heading into this week, John?
Capital is always a challenge. Danbury's certainly not shirking anybody. That's a Capital team that is always up near the top of the Constitution State Conference. I'm kind of curious to see how Danbury does against them.
West Hill will get New Canaan Thursday night. That game is at Boyle Stadium. They wanted it to be played at night. No lights at the Hill. Ludlow at Norwalk, and the Bears winners 41-21. Trouble's continuing for Ludlow.
Norwalk, I know, had pulled its starters. I don't think it was all that deep into the second half. A lot of penalties, I understand, again, for Ludlow. A lot of things that need fixing for the Falcons.
The good news for Ludlow and for Brian McMahon, one of those teams will have a win by the end of next week. They will play on Thursday, October 5th. Both teams go into a bye, and then the 0-3 squads square off. Norwalk, 2-1 on the year. They'll take on Greenwich next Monday night, October 2nd. That game is at Cardinal Stadium. It will be the home opener for the Cardinals. Almost a month into the season, but Greenwich coming off a bye, the way they're rolling right now, difficult matchup for Norwalk. I'm not going to say unwinnable, but it is certainly going to have to be a near perfect game for the Bears.
They have to hope Greenwich got rusty in that time off. And there's a schedule, there's a scheduling, you could call it a quirk, you could call it a stroke of brilliance that we have to talk about.
We will address that later on in the week as we get closer. But Kevin, lingering after another bye week for the Cardinals will be New Canaan on October 14th. Can the Bears maybe benefit from the Cardinals getting caught, really peeking ahead, thinking this is their time to knock off the Rams and give themselves a chance early on, put themselves in a position to be successful?
I think they'd love for that, but I also think Coach Marinelli is not going to allow that to happen. They're focusing on Norwalk game by game. This is a very focused group after seeing them against Trumbull, and again, you look at what they did against Trinity Catholic. They go about their business each week. Every game they go about. They don't look forward to the next game. That's the only thing that Norwalk can hope for. But listen, this is going to be a good game. I think Norwalk's going to give them a good fight. But the way that Greenwich is scoring the offense,
I haven't seen any indication of Greenwich looking ahead or Greenwich being stopped thus far this year. And they do so much so well. It's going to take a defense with a lot of studs across the board to shut that down.
For me, I think the matchup that's most intriguing going into that one is not as much the Greenwich offense, but I'm excited to see how the sophomore quarterback Kyle Gordon of Norwalk will handle the blitz from Greenwich. He's going to see pressure unmatched to what he's had this year, and that includes a difficult West Hill game for him.
Yeah, he is. That's going to be a whole new thing, and there's a lot of speed to it. I also think he's going to have to read coverages that he hasn't seen before, because I think Greenwich does a lot of complex things back there to try to fool the quarterback and give him that wrong read.
Game number 4, two teams coming off tough losses. Wilton and Fairfield Ward, the Warriors winning this one 31-21 at Ward, of course. 2016, that big overtime game at the start of the year. This year, though, Wilton a little bit more in control. Our own J.B. Cousins was there. We've got some footage, John, of the touchdown plays. And again, it's just vintage Warrior football here as they get things going on the ground offensively, and that allows them to be successful against the Mustangs.
This is just, and I'm about to say two teams that are just going to run the ball at each other, but.
Well, we thought this could be one of the quicker games, but I think that both coaches wanted to try to find that element of surprise. And it's not that the passing game isn't there, but that's something that if you're not used to it, it's not second nature to you and routine, that's where little mistakes can happen, as we saw there with that first pick. But, there is the other side of this as well. I think it's a big win for the Warriors, a good statement comeback, as there was a heavy dose of Harvey Alexander again here. For me, Wilton is trending in the right direction, but a huge step going to be made now next Monday. They are going to host St. Joe's on Monday night. Obviously going to be a difficult St. Joe's opponent to play after that tough loss to Darien, but the Warriors kept it close for a good chunk of last year's game with St. Joe's.
St. Joe's has got to get up off the ground, dust themselves off, and say, that's it, we're done losing for the year now. And they very well could be. They could run the rest of that schedule. But they've got to start at some place. It starts with Wilton.
Yeah, I agree. They can't let that game ruin the season. They have to move forward. But at the same time, they have to also realize this is a good Wilton team that they're traveling to. It's going to be a hostile crowd. We obviously know how rowdy those Wilton fans can get, and it's going to be a big test for St. Joe's. But I think overall, they're going to come out with the win.
Frank, I wish we could back that up, because if you want to talk about packing the box, yeah. 4 linemen of 4 linebackers from tackle to tackle. You think they're expecting it up the middle?
Well, they take the triple option off the edge there with Calabrese. For Fairfield Ward now, they'll get Bridgeport Central after 2 tough losses. That should be a good chance for the Mustangs to bounce back. Don't need to spend too much time here. Staples, big win over McMahon. The Wreckers continuing to take care of opponents they should beat. McMahon, we mentioned, they're going to have the opportunity. One of the teams, either McMahon or Ludlow, is coming away with a win on October 5th. Staples has a bye as well, like Ridgefield, before that October 6th meeting on Friday night. So they'll both have a lot of time to prepare for what should be a highly anticipated and well-played game between two-story programs.
I really want to see how the styles match up in that. Does Ridgefield rely on Gatto and try to throw it more? Does Staples try to keep it on the ground more and keep it out of Gatto's hand? Or do they get vertical as they've shown an ability to do early in this season?
Any thoughts?
I mean, we touched upon it before. I think it's the two defenses that are really going to stand out. I think Staples, what they did against Wilton, only allowed them to score 3 points. Impressive. Richfield, we know they bring back some key starters from last season. It's a talented defense. These are two defenses I think that are going to shine in this game. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring. It's going to be a really strong matchup.
Last game of the weekend that we did not cover, Trinity Catholic at Stanford. And John, this one a surprise for you. Stanford 32-10 with a big win over the Crusaders in a city championship game.
And a win that was due to Stanford. They needed this. 0-3 would have been a rough start. To get that first win and get it against a city opponent is huge, and it's something they can build off. I thought Trinity would shake off that Greenwich game, but I think they were banged up. They're low on numbers. A nice job by the Black Knights.
First win of the year. Forrester comes up with an Athlete of the Week nominee after he counted for 4 touchdowns, helping the Black Knights roll. Stanford is going to get Darien next, so another tough one there. They've got to bounce back. Trinity Trumbull on Thursday night. Going to be an interesting game, to say the least.
That could be, if you want to look at evenly matched teams with something to prove, that might be the best game of the weekend.
They're both teams that probably expected to be in contention for the state playoffs this year. They are not out of it just yet. One of them probably is by Friday morning.
Somebody's going to be Friday.
Guys, let's take one break here. When we get back, we've got highlights coming up and a breakdown of the Trumbull-New Canaan game Friday night and St. Joe's Darien game on Saturday afternoon. That's next on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Black Horse Garage, we fulfill all your sports car needs. We specialize in manufacturer-recommended service and aftermarket high-performance parts and installation. We have one of the nation's top storage facilities and offer a high-end collision department that understands your need for detail. Visit blackhorsegarage.com for more.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. SCAP Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now during the Jeep Celebration event and Ram Power Days. Now through September 30th.
We know it's your busy season, and that's why Walter Stewart's Market is here to make things easy by offering the best of autumn under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market is your local one-stop fall shop. There are so many seasonal flavors to savor, and Stewart's has them all, from Blue Jay Orchard's local cider donuts to Vermont Farmstead cheddar and all of your favorite varieties of local apples and pears. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and find us at stewartsmarket.com. We know it's your...
Back on the HAN Network, and let's dive right in to our 2 games of the week. We'll start Friday night. Trumbull at New Canaan. Not the way the Eagles were hoping it would go. New Canaan rolling in this one. Here are the highlights from the Rams' big win.
Shin flip sides, 9:30 to go in the quarter, and the Rams going for it on 4th down. Pine, screen to the left side. O'Connell makes the catch, dances through defenders, heading for the end zone. Touchdown, Rams! As Nicholas in the gun with plenty of blockers out in front. Takes the snap, running left, heading for the pylon, reaching forward, and he's in. Touchdown. Eagles come with a delayed blitz off the right side. Pine wants to go to the end zone, and he's got him in. Touchdown. It's Justin Greco. Of course, did all the punting and most of the field goal kicking last year, too, after Jack Holzer suffered an early season injury. That's another low snap, and this ball is deflected, picked off by Savini, and he is into the end zone for a New Canaan touchdown. Heads up play by the junior as Woods could not collect that pass in. And it is our first defensive score of the evening. The pick was made by Will Rechterman, the junior. And that is how it will end, John. 61-14, New Canaan, the winner tonight.
That on Friday night looked a lot more like the New Canaan Rams we have come to know, both offensively and defensively. Did a good job of taking care of what right now is just a lost Trumbull football program, unfortunately.
New Canaan had a significant size advantage up front. They used it. Drew Pine, I think, started to use some different receivers, mix it up a little bit, though that remains a topic of conversation all around Dunning Stadium. And it was just New Canaan being New Canaan.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to throw it to me. I thought you were going to ask me a question, but no. I mean, no, John, I fully agree. I thought you finally saw Drew Pine look more comfortable in the pocket, not just throwing to Quentin O'Connell.
Well, he had time in the pocket.
Yeah, time in the pocket as well. But you found Justin Greco. You got you got Owen Shin going a couple times. It was just that it looked like there was actually some flow, some rhythm to that offense, which was good to see compared to week 1.
We talk about time in the pocket. We saw Jack Stewart go down at one point in the second quarter. He was able to come back in and finish the game. It looks like he's day-to-day right now. They're a little unsure about his status for Thursday, but recovering from what is an arm injury based on what we saw, I'm going to assume. But day-to-day, the report I received. I think that Pine did the right things. Again, he was not trying to force the issue at times. He did spread the wealth around. You got to anticipate in 2 weeks when you get to Greenwich, and even this week with Noodles in the secondary, John, O'Connell is going to be heavily focused on defensively. You've got to work through your progressions and other options.
He has to, because West Hill is going to clamp down on O'Connell. They are going to have multiple guys on. You might see them in a man-1 scheme where one defender's locked to him and there's a safety floating over the top just to see what happens, knowing that percentage-wise the throw's likely going to go to O'Connell. Shin's going to take some of that away. West Hill is very unorthodox and unpredictable in terms of their pressure. They come different ways from different angles. They show, they don't show, they come off the edge, they come up the middle, and you're never really sure what you're going to get. New Canaan's got to play up front as a unit to protect Pine, and then he'll have time to read his progressions. I just think they're going to really clamp down in the secondary on O'Connell.
It's going to be a fun one Thursday night at Boyle Stadium.
I'm going just to watch that one.
That'll be a good one, 7 o'clock. Let's look at Saturday's game. Number 1, Darien. Number 3, St. Joe's. Nothing more needs to be said before we run the highlights than Darien again proving why they are the best team in the state. Here's their big win, 42-10 over the Cadets.
It is a copycat league, and everyone has really advanced towards the spread as they give to Pryor on the left side, fighting forward. He's into the end zone. Touchdown wave.
He's talking to the training staff. He's talking to the quarterback coach as well, trying to see if his shoulder's all right.
Thank you, Kevin, as Summers on third down, going up over the top, and a great catch made by Bike inside the 35-yard line. We'll keep an eye on that.
Good pickup by Kevin down there.
Summers dropping back on first down. Plenty of time, now throws up a jump ball, looking for Bike again. He makes the catch, touchdown!
2 great catches by Bike in a row.
Dropping back, going for the jump ball, corner of the end zone, and holding on. This time is Patrick Burke. It is a Blue Wave touchdown.
You know he wanted that one. You know they wanted to get it for him.
They let the clock get under 25 seconds, and this will be all she wrote. 42-10 will be the final as number 1 Darien rolls on. It is win number 28 in a row.
I don't have much to say about that game Saturday. I didn't think it was a great football game, honestly. I don't think either team played particularly well or a clean game, but ultimately right now I stand by this is a Darien football team that is probably only going to lose on one date out of the calendar year, and I don't think the team across the Merritt is quite there yet to take them down. We're potentially 10 games away from talking about one of the best dynasties in Connecticut football history.
I agree. This is a dominant Darien football program. They do a nice job. Mitchell Pryor, an absolute animal, a beast. I thought he was excellent on Saturday.
He was, but I just keep racking my brain from the time I left Darien High School on Saturday afternoon, Frank. How different is that game if St. Joe's does to Darien what they did to New Canaan? They got the early turnover that they needed, and then Darien held them to 3. If they get 7 there, is that a different game?
I'd like to think that way. I just don't think so. I don't think St. Joe's played well, but I also don't think St. Joe's is quite up to the challenge of Darien.
No, I was surprised. I was very impressed by Darien. But like you said, sloppy game. They went out, did what they had to do to get the job done.
It is, and it's less of a knock on St. Joe's as much as it is testament to what Darien is doing down there right now. So the Wave 3-0. They'll get Stanford next. St. Joe's got to find a way to rebound quickly. They're going to travel to Fujitani, take on Wilton next Monday night. Guys, a lot of fun today as always. No football on the network this weekend with the unusual schedule, but we got plenty more for you. Girls soccer, boys soccer, a championship rematch in girls volleyball. I know, I'm excited for that one too, Kevin. For John Kovacs, Kevin Coleman, I'm Frank Granito. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.